here. How's everybody doing tonight? I am coming online tonight. I have an ad out there for my the Thistledown Telegram. I really want you guys to help me launch it. Well, it's Thistledown Telegram. Oops. Bear with me. Turning off the other speaker. Okay. Anywho, I really am emotionally invested in it, and I think I do use some AI tools. By the way, I am at work, so I keep looking at the cameras to make sure nobody's coming in. I do have a full-time job, but I am trying to create some products that bring me residual income that I have a passion in, because quite frankly, I just turned 60. So getting close to retirement, would like to have, you know, some residual income to follow me into retirement. And also it's a passion of mine, the Thistledown Telegram. And I want you to see a face behind the name, so that you know you're not being scammed or anything like that. It's really important for someone like myself, although children, it's hard to identify when they're young that they're going to end up having some type of memory issue or neurodivergency in most cases. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I wish I would have had more connections to my past, because I do have aphantasia, and I do have, the letters are SDAM, I call SDAM. It's severely deficient autobiographical memory, and I'll get into that here in a moment. But the Thistledown Telegram, my goal is to make sure that twice a month your child or a child in your life has some textural, some physical things to hold on to value, to keep, because, you know, we live in a digital age, and once something's out of our field of sight, we're on to the next thing. You know, it's just a very transient experience, and we've gotten away from a lot of the physical anchors that keep us, you know, connected to a memory or a song or a smell or that type of thing. And I kind of want to fill that gap a little bit. And I would really like your help, even if you don't have any children. Now, the Thistledown Telegram is focused on children that are approximately 4 to 8 years old. It's going to be more simplified. I am going to be rolling out a snail mail club for older children that's going to be focused on a child that's in van life, that travels across the country and goes to educational locations and does neat things that kids that age, you know, I would probably say, you know, 8 to preteens, something along those lines. So I am going to roll out something that's a little different, that's not as, oh, look at my hair. I hate my hair. Anywho, I'm going to color it. I don't know. I have red at home, but I don't know. We'll see. Anywho, there is going to be a second snail mail coming, but I don't want to bog myself down with that one just yet, because I want to get the Thistledown Telegram. You know, gosh, I'd be happy with, you know, 100, 150 to start or something like that. So spread the word, share the video. I'll put some stuff in the description in terms of how you can sign the children up for it. It is going to be, hello. Welcome to the channel. I do want to talk about why my passion is in this, along with a couple other projects that I have. I am the owner of Rabbitflea Productions. I do make AI-assisted songs. I've kind of gotten away from that a little bit. However, it is going to be incorporated into the Thistledown Telegram, so that every time that the child gets an envelope, the snail mail, there'll also be some coloring book pages digitally that can be downloaded that tie into the theme, as well as a song that ties into the theme. So that's going to be part of it. But I did want to get into why this has become quite a passion for me. And one of the reasons is that I do suffer from aphantasia. If you don't know what aphantasia is, it's literally that I have no mind's eye. And I actually didn't know that this is what I had until maybe the last year, 2 years. Quite frankly, I thought I was suffering from early dementia, early Alzheimer's, some type of, debilitating progressive illness. But it seems that aphantasia is a thing. It's relatively new on the, the diagnosis spectrum in terms of, I think it was first identified like back in the 1800s, and I do have some information and an article on it that I can link below once I finish the live. But I never really thought that people could see things when it says, close your eyes, picture a beach, picture a red apple. I could never do that, but I didn't understand that that was different than anybody else. So no, I don't have a mind's eye. When I close my eyes, I just see, I call it black, but it's not really a black. It's a scrolly. Hello, welcome to the channel. Nice to see ya. Aphantasia is, in my experience, I don't see any types of shapes at all. Like when I close my eyes and I try and picture something, it's just kind of, and by the way, when I'm looking up, I'm looking at cameras to see if there's anybody at my place of business. I am working this evening. Thank you. Hello. So anyway, back to the aphantasia thing and why I'm doing Thistledown Telegram for Children, the Snail Mail Club. I wish I would have had it when I was younger. And to go further into the aphantasia aspect of it, not having a mind's eye, I just see swirliness. It's kind of a blacky gray kind of thing. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And if you have a channel, I will sub to you as well, HD2222. But I also have, there's different types of aphantasia, by the way. I have the list in front of me somewhere. So not only is there aphantasia of the mind's eye, like not being able to, great, I will actually, when I get done, I will sub to you as well. Thank you very much. So it's not just of the mind's eye. There's also a silent mind's ear. So I can't hear songs. And not everybody with aphantasia has all of these things. They can have a combination or see, somewhat some type of shape. I'm total. The silent mind's ear is no internal music or heard voices. I don't hear songs. Oh, thank you. Harlan Davis. Thank you. I don't hear songs. I know the words, but I can't hear them. There's also a scent, an absence of scent or smell. Some people can smell, like I think of a pumpkin pie or a chocolate cake and smell, picture the smell. I don't have that. There is the somatic or tactile, where, some people can picture velvet or something rough or, sticky. I don't have any kind of tactile kind of, internal memory. And then also taste. So there is a word for all of the different senses. So I have none of these. Everything's silent, black, no sound, no internal pictures. But I do have a constantly running monologue. And what does that mean? I don't talk to myself in terms of hearing a voice. But I do have like a ticker tape. I call it a ticker tape that's constantly running. So when I'm trying to relax, it's just words, sentences. It's just constantly, my mind is constantly a ticker tape of thoughts, not feelings, mostly just thoughts, constantly running. I don't see the words. I experience the words, if that makes sense. And I thought I was going crazy. I have been studying dementia for years, thinking that's what I was headed for. So when I found out I had aphantasia, it wasn't like a bothersome diagnosis to me. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to have this debilitating, because it's not debilitating. Once you know what you have, you know how it affects your life. So along with that though, and what made me really scared was that I have a seriously deficient autobiographical memory. So when I look at a picture of myself smelling flowers or daisies or something like that, which by the way, I have a bunch of articles on Substack, and I will link my Substack below where you can see all of my articles about aphantasia and everything. But I don't see memories. My mind is like a data dump. I know things. I know things happened. I kind of have a roadmap of how things happened. And again, by the way, I just keep checking to see if there's any guests here. But I don't have a movie reel of anything. So, for example, I know my child was born. I know what it went through. I know I had a C-section, but I can't replay it in my head. In fact, I know my son. I know what he looks like, but I can't picture his face. I can't picture what he looks like as a baby, So I'm in some support groups on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. Really a good community, a very good community. And in fact, a large percentage of the people that do have aphantasia or any variety of aphantasia are very much like myself. They're kind of surprised. They didn't know that what they were going through was a thing. They didn't know that people really could, it wasn't just like a form of speech or something. When people said, picture this, someone like myself with aphantasia just kind of thought that's what people said, I do have an experience though when I was younger and I worked in a neurology office that, no. It was when I worked for an ENT, ears, nose, and throat doctor. And the RN that would give the injections and help them, with surgeries and stuff like that. She was very into biofeedback for migraines and all that. And I was having really bad migraines at the time. And she hooked me up to the biofeedback machine and started doing her, relaxation stuff, picture yourself. Well, we did the breathing and, the feeling your body, all that kind of stuff, your feet, your toes, blah, blah, blah. And then she started to picture this, picture that, you're here, you're there. And she was getting frustrated because, okay, charge your phone. Hopefully we'll talk sooner when you can be on the replay team or that type of thing. Crew. That's what I'm looking for. Replay crew. I can't say it. And that's not part of aphantasia. That's just my mouth. But this nurse, she got really mad. And because we were, co-workers, I think she thought I was, trying to undermine her treatment or something like that. And she got really upset. She was like, you're not trying. But it's really frustrating, which, by the way, I am working on an app that's in development for people like myself that have aphantasia, or maybe people that have vision problems, or other types of things where we're more motivated by grounding, talking about the weight of our bodies, the feeling of our skin, the smell of the air, as opposed to trying imagery, which almost every single app out there is based, in terms of relaxation, is based on imagery. And that can be very frustrating when you don't have that internal imagery. So that is also a bigger project that I have in development that I'm working on scripts for. It's going to take a lot more money and investment of time and stuff like that. So my simplest step into that project is raising funds through the Thistledown Telegram. The other snail mail club that I'm going to make for a little bit older children, I haven't came up with a name for it yet, but I'll be rolling that out once I establish Thistledown Telegram. And again, you have any kids, I'll put a link below. Have any friends with kids, it's really affordable, $12.99 a month. And the child's going to get 2 snail mail envelopes. They can get excited with some tactile keepsakes in there with a nice story. Rabbitflea, Rosie the Rabbitflea is the main character, but there'll be nice little stories. There'll be digital downloads that they can color, so they'll have that activity as well. And the songs. And I'm going to fully encourage any parent involved to create some kind of keepsake box. Because going back to my experience of looking at me smelling a daisy or me doing something and looking at pictures, I have no other grounding things related to those memories. And it's really hard to identify a child that has aphantasia, or that could eventually, because SDAM, or severely deficient autobiographical memory, that does often get paired as part of the whole brain mechanism, is hard to identify as a child. So why not just, I don't want to say assume, but make the child's memories more full, more than just a digital screen, more than just a fanciful story, but a full experience. And that's what I want to provide, is a full experience. And I remember as a child, again, I'm old, but when I was a child, I would get so excited. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I was covering my mic. Sorry. When I was a child, I would get so excited to get a piece of mail from my pen pal. We had pen pals back then. I would be so excited. I had mail going all over the world and coming back to me. And I couldn't wait to hear from those pen pals. And children these days, it just glued to the screen. And keep in mind, I have an adult child that was pretty much raised on a computer. So, excuse me. So I know how it is. And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, quite frankly, especially with AI, I'm not anti-AI. I'm kind of pro-AI. I think this is going to be one of the smartest generations, or these next, the kids that are going to be raised or that are growing up now have access to information that they would have had to pay thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn to do. They can just go online, and AI can almost for free provide them with instructions on how to do things, how to make things, how to fix things and code things. So I'm not opposed to it if used correctly. So I'm very pro AI. I'm very pro internet, but I feel that it doesn't need to be all that. I think there is a revolution of analog that needs to be mixed in there. I think just relying on one type of communication, on one type of entertainment, or on one line of which things come into your life, if that ends, what? I am so sorry. But like I said, if that ends, what are you going to rely on? So, if we can, I'm going to get a drink here. If we can teach our children that there's more and there's alternates and, a hands-on full experience of a memory of a story, that's something that we took for granted when we were younger, I'm sure. I mean, Lamb Chop singing "This Is the Song That Never Ends." Heck, it pretty much haunted me. But I'm going to try and not do those earworms in terms of my project with the Thistledown Telegram. So what is, I think I was going to, I already went into the aphantasia. Oh, this is what I wanted to talk about is, you know, when I told you I was scared that I was going to have dementia, this is when I'm like, what's the difference between aphantasia and dementia? How do I know that aphantasia is not something that is part of dementia? Well, aphantasia is just a structural variation of the brain. Sort of like, you know, an autistic person or any other ADHD, neurodivergent type of brain functioning, okay? Where Alzheimer's and dementia is a disease where there's a progressive decline. It's not a structural variation of how the brain is actually firing. With aphantasia, I have memories. We have memories. They're intact. They're accurate. And they're functional. They're just different. Like I said, mine's like blueprints and data. It's not imagery. But because I have SDAM on top of it, it does create holes. If not holes, I would say just clarity. In terms of aphantasia, there's no progression. It is what it is. You have it or you don't. You have it at whatever level or you don't. There's no further loss over time. Where with dementia and Alzheimer's, you have a deterioration. So, you know, to wrap it, that kind of comparison of dementia and Alzheimer's is a disease. Aphantasia, SDAM, what I'm talking about this evening, isn't a disease. It is just a different mind. Like I mentioned, it's a neurodivergence. And who's to say neurodivergence? I hate it when people say, you know, you're not normal, because I don't have internal imagery. Who's to say that whatever neurodivergence that you have, whether it's autism, whether it's ADHD, whether it's a combination, whether it's aphantasia with this and with that, how do we know that's not the next level of human adaptation? I don't want to say evolution because that could get into science, religion, all that kind of stuff. But we do adapt, you know, and who's to say that, you know, what I'm experiencing isn't an adaptation, or an autistic person is that an adaptation that is, you know, a progression instead of, you know, something that creates some type of disability. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm just putting it out there. I hate to say it, I'm excited by learning that that's what I have, because at least I know I don't have dementia. So with the Thistledown telegram, why did I want to launch that? And how do we know if a child has aphantasia? Well, we don't. I mean, quite frankly, and I've talked on the aphantasia support groups, and many parents have piped in and have said, this child does, this child doesn't, this child does, this child doesn't. However, research is almost entirely focused on adults when it comes to aphantasia, or SDAM, severely deficient autobiographical memory. Children assume their dark mind's eye is universal, as did I, as I have always. I didn't know I was different. So by the time a child realizes that their experience is different, their childhood milestones have already been locked away without a key. And when a parent is questioning them and trying to determine, it's hard for a child to have a frame of reference, because they don't know any different than what they experience on a daily basis. And they might be saying yes or no based on their definition internally of what they think somebody else is saying, or expecting them to respond, or how they're feeling in comparison to others. So it's really hard to do studies, from what I understand, on children. So I'm just going to assume that every child needs what I want to provide. a full experience. Oh, if I developed, I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at the chat. If I developed Alzheimer's, I would still remember how beautiful you are. Oh, well, thank you. I'll take that compliment. I hardly ever get those kind of compliments. Because guess what? I just turned 60 May 1st. So, yeah, I'm an old lady. An old lady with nasty hair that I need to color. Anywho, so I really feel that the Thistledown Telegram, the business that I'm trying to launch that I want you guys to spread the word on, again, that I'll put in the description after the live is over, is going to be good for kids with ADHD, with memory issues, because the physical objects act as a permanent anchor to focus and for working with memory cues. Dyslexics could also benefit because it bypasses visual decoding fatigue. So I know some dyslexics, and then reading and doing all that kind of stuff can just get, kind of emotional for them. So if there's other things that are tactile, that are auditory, hence the songs that will be thematic with the stories, and the tactile little goodies that I'm going to include that would help children with dyslexia, and any other type of sensory needs that children help them build more concrete, textured, physical reality to the experience. So, and I just want to bring back analog mail. I know stamps are expensive, but trust me, I've taken that into consideration. Again, $12.99 a month, 2 different mailings, 2 complete, little stories, with stickers and tactile paper and the downloadable coloring pages, the songs, that type of thing. I thought it through. I mean, it's. I do understand that people are getting, or have way long time ago, gotten away from snail mail, but there is a resurgence. I mean, quite frankly, if you go and you do some research online, it is making a comeback. There for a while it was those box of the month things, or food boxes of the month, or mystery murder, of the month, that type of thing. Snail mail, pen pal kind of things are making a resurgence. People want more analog, personal connection to other people. For example, right now, somebody just said I'm beautiful. We have a personal connection right now. Gotta say, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm going to have, and then there's no promise in terms of what type of textures are included in each mailing. It could be vellum, it could be linen, different craft papers with varying textures. There will be tangible keepsakes, trinkets, just anchors, to, put in their little time capsule or treasure chest. I might even, on my 4th wall, because that's where I'm have the memberships located for now, is on my 4th wall. I won't roll out a home base website just yet, but on the 4th wall, I'm thinking about making some type of treasure chest that they can buy, or a time capsule that the kids can, personalize and put their keepsakes in, so that when they get older like me and they take out a picture of a particular event or whatever, they also have these little keepsakes that will attach to the data. If they don't have the actual picture in their head, they have the physical thing that they can touch and share and trigger for their data memories. And then obviously the music. I mean, it's just fun. I wish I would have queued up some of the songs I've made already with Rosie the Rabbitflea. They're cute. They're children's songs, and then the coloring pages. And, that's going to be something that they can actually participate in, be interactive in what's going on with Rosie the Rabbitflea. So, again, it's, a keepsake, a time capsule, a memory trigger. And, you know, memory triggers are important, you know. With the digital world, everything's fleeting. I mean, it's there forever, you know, unless somebody deletes it. And I don't think anything can ever be fully deleted, but it still is fleeting. I mean, I lose track of so many channels that I've subscribed to because something else gets recommended, and then I'm down that rabbit hole, and then I'm down this rabbit hole, and then finally I get back to one of my original channels that I just love to death, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. How did that happen? So just an FYI, right now I do have a 10% going for the Thistledown Telegram. It is 10% off using MaySub, that's MAYSUB, at my fourth wall. But that being said, it's quiet here tonight. I don't know if you were here when I mentioned it, but I'm at work. I work overnights. And yeah, it's quiet, because we're off season. I work at a resort, and it's off season. You know, no skiing right now. Not yet time for the bikers or mountain biking. That's actually very close, maybe a week, 2 weeks away. And then we're going to have some pretty big events for the rest of the summer. But if you are familiar with mountain biking and skiing and those seasonal events, there's obviously off season. And right now we're in off season. So, but it doesn't mean we're completely closed. So I'm sitting here, keeping an eye out, making sure nobody's sneaking into the hot tubs because they're closed. I would be closer to the lobby and out there, but there's music playing on the overhead, and you know, I don't want to be, you know, get any strikes from YouTube for having any proprietary music playing. But I will be wrapping it up soon because I am at work. I'm going to try and do another live tomorrow because I really want to get the lives going so that people associate a name, a face with the Rabbitflea Productions, with the Thistledown Telegram, because there's probably, oh, I did it again. I keep hitting my microphone. There's probably a lot of people that are out there like me that if they don't see a face to what's going on, that they assume it's a scam, you know. And I watch a lot of Catfished on YouTube, and that's the big thing. If somebody's not going to show you their face, then maybe they're not real. Maybe it's a scam. So I don't want anybody to think that what I'm doing is a scam. There is a real person behind it. I do have real motivations. And, you know, it's something that I want to take into my retirement. It's a residual thing, and it's something that brings, you know, it's a goal based on what I've learned about myself. You know, there's a whole world of things opening up because I found out I have aphantasia. It didn't hurt me. It helped me. It gave me a goal. It gave me something to focus on, learn on, and help other people that have had this life of blankness, this life of black screen. So, you know, that's my intention. And so I do appreciate you guys, and thank you again for saying I'm beautiful, and thank you for subscribing to my channel if you have. And if you have a channel, please make sure you put it in the comments or let me know, and I'll subscribe to yours, as long as it's not naughty, if you know what I mean. Anywho, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for now. I'm going to try and go live tomorrow morning or sometime, you know, mid-morning maybe, just to catch that crew of people. A lot of people aren't up at this hour. So, you know, like, subscribe, check out my links that I'm going to put below when this rolls out. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for clicking on the video. You rock. You have a great night, day, afternoon, whatever it is in your neck of the woods. And hopefully we'll talk soon. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.